How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Manny Maradiegue, live today on May 24th. To wrap up the week, I got another round of stories to get to around the NFL, some on OTAs and just some around the National Football League as well. So we'll start off with the AFC South quarterback rankings to get us started. Then we're going to move on to the NFL potentially looking at going to an 18-game regular season. Roger Goodell cleared up some of his comments on that, so I'll get into those. And plus, on the other side as well, we're going to talk about CeeDee Lamb and another update around his contract negotiations, maybe a reason why he hasn't signed or extended those negotiation talks with the Dallas Cowboys. All of that coming up on today's episode. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast. And before I do start, a reminder, if you guys have any questions or comments, use the tip and donations link you see on your screen, GSMCPodcast.net. By using that, your question will pop up on my screen. I can read it on air and just get your guys' perspective on anything I say or on any of the topics. It's a massive help for the show. So again, if you would, please use the tip and donations link with any of your questions or comments. But in saying that, we can move on to the first topic, a continual series on here, the quarterback rankings across the divisions in the NFL. This time we're going to take a pit stop at the AFC South, and a pretty interesting one by the title of the live stream and the title of the videos afterwards. You'll see that this is a young division overall for all four starting quarterbacks, so it was pretty fun to project it, and it was pretty challenging, but from worst to first, we're going to start off going at that number 4 spot, starting off with Anthony Richardson. Pretty difficult to have him here, honestly, just because I think talent-wise, he has pretty much all of it. He had a couple games where he really impressed me, and I'm sure you impressed a lot of people. I want to say it was the games against the Jaguars and the Los Angeles Rams where he performed very well, throwing the ball, running it, and he kept the Colts in both of those games and just really showed a little glimpse of what kind of quarterback he can be. Has a tremendous build. He's huge. He can run the ball very well. He did it well at Florida State or at Florida, I should say, and also now transitioning to the NFL. How was that going to translate to playing against grown men? And it didn't seem like he skipped a beat, but on the flip side of that, so much running and so much physicality in his game did wind up, causing him to miss a majority of the season. He only played a handful of games. I want to say it was maybe 6, no more than 8 or 7 overall for Anthony Richardson. So it was from that point of view that I have to have him here just because he missed the majority of his first season. So from that point of view, I can't really put him higher just because he has pretty much all of it. For performing so well with the talent around him as well. And you could see that in those games, he really kept them in it through his playmaking, through his throws, his running ability and stuff like that. But again, because he missed most of his first year, I put him in at the number 4 spot. But it just raises the expectations a little bit this year because you got so much of a little glimpse in that first year with a handful of games. Going forward, it's certainly going to be exciting. They got another piece in A.D. Mitchell through the draft, which I think is going to help this offense tremendously. A bit more excitement with Anthony Richardson coming back. So a lot of expectations in his second season, but for now, he'll be number 4 on my list, which means at number 3, I have Will Levis, another first-year quarterback trying to figure out his way through the NFL in his first year. He, unlike Anthony Richardson, had some of those trials and tribulations that you find yourself in the first year trying to maneuvering through being named the starting quarterback after a handful of games, performing very well in his first game against the Atlanta Falcons, and then there were some ups and downs, and now heading into this season, another new system being implemented under Brian Callahan as the new head coach, so that is on the downside that he has to learn a whole other system now in his second year, but I think it'll be a lot better than what he would be running with Vrabel this past season. Not that it was bad, but I just think having a more open offense, a spread look on offense with the receivers that he now has in DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, and Tyler Boyd as well, I think that will fit his play style a little bit more. He'll have more options to throw to. A decent running game, with Tony Pollard and the other options they have at running back should open it up a little bit more. I'm sure they'd want to get a little bit stronger there, but the way that Brian Callahan plays, sort of coming over from the Cincinnati Bengals and trying to translate that over to the Tennessee Titans, I think there is something to be excited about. This offense now has more talent around it, more excitement. It really just comes down to Will Levis, and he showed, again, some glimpses in the first year where you look at him. I want to say it was the game a game that I was watching against the Steelers where he played very well. I didn't know too much about him, but in that game, he certainly impressed me. Then afterwards, he went on the road against the Miami Dolphins and beat them when it was close to playoff time and really hurt their chances. So there were some moments where you look at him and think, wow, like this guy really knows what he's doing for a first-year quarterback. He had his ups and downs, but he did have those moments that people will look to and try to build off of those games and build off of the good things he did in those games. So I think if they could get Will Levis right, this Tennessee Titans team could surprise a lot of people. I'm not going to rank them based on where they're going to finish, but I like the talent that they have, and I like their offense especially, and their defense as well a little bit, adding L'Jarius Sneed to a very talented group anyway. But for right now, Will Levis, how he translates into his second year, will have him in as my number 3 quarterback on my list. Then, at number 2, Trevor Lawrence, pretty similar to some of the other quarterbacks, or just really the only one left after Trevor Lawrence, obviously, but a number 1 overall pick, the type of hype that he got and attention he received coming out of college and through his time in Clemson, then getting drafted to the Jaguars. You kind of threw the first season in the bin just because it never really panned out with Urban Meyer and all the off-the-field distractions and stuff that just got in the way of football and his development. You sort of gave him a pass for that first year because you saw the talent there, but to see how it played out in his first year, it just threw everybody off. And then in his second year in 2022, you saw that sort of projection that he could be in the NFL. He had a pretty solid year in 2022. He won the division. He made it to the wild card round, came back in that game against the Chargers, and then moved on, and they ended up losing. But in 2022, it certainly was his first game, or 2022 was his first year where you sort of saw, all right, this is the sort of Trevor Lawrence we thought. And then moving into this past year now, they had a great start. A lot of people will obviously forget it because of how they ended. It didn't go the way that they wanted, how they lost the division there and just lost a good amount of their games in the bottom half of the NFL season. So from that standpoint, and then moving forward, how he sort of builds off of that, he has a good case to exceed his expectations now with another year under Doug Peterson. I think that's a great match for him to further develop his skills. But the biggest thing with me with Trevor Lawrence, why I'm sort of, I want to put him higher. I think a lot of people expected him to be in more conversations around MVP or Offensive Player of the Year, those sort of conversations with Trevor Lawrence because of how much attention he received. But at the end of the day, it always seems like you want to say he's good, but then there's always a but or except this or except that. That's reason with Trevor Lawrence where I don't want to get into the whole contract talks with him, but also why people might be questioning such a massive deal for him if he gets that extension of around $50 million. Does he deserve that much based on what you've seen? That's a whole other debate, but it all wraps up in this conversation of Trevor Lawrence, how much better can he go, and how much better can we see him take this Jacksonville Jaguars team that has some talent, but also they're going to heavily rely on Trevor Lawrence, I believe, if they're going to have any chance of winning that division and going further in the playoffs. It's up to him to take that further step, and if he does that, he has all the tools and arm talent to do it. You just have to finally see it out there because there is a lot of good quarterback competition in the NFL. So he slides in at number 2 for me, meaning that the obvious number 1, I guess it is a little bit of a surprise just because, having a rookie, that's 3 rookies in this division. But CJ Stroud was far and away the best one, had one of the best seasons for a rookie quarterback. His passer rating of 100.8 was the third best by a rookie in NFL history. Led all rookies in all major passing categories as well. And not just a credit to him for how great he looked and how awesome he made Tank Dell look, Nico Collins. He really he didn't put them on the map, but he really accentuated their talent and really made a lot of opposing defenses now start to game plan around them, start to look at them in a different light because now they have a quarterback to be able to throw it to really show off all of their abilities. And same goes the other way around for CJ Stroud. If he doesn't have those receivers, would we see a great season like he had? He finished 8th in passing yards, over 4,000, 23 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions for a rookie. That ratio is very good. And also, a bigger credit to the organization for really changing this organization from where it was 3 years ago to where it is now looked at as one of the major contenders in the AFC. A lot of credit goes to the organization, but it's not as easy as a lot of people make it sound to find that quarterback. I'm really high on CJ Stroud, just his mentality, and he has all the physical traits and all the arm ability that you'd want. To have that mentality and have all these guys believe in you, be that leader at such a young age, I think deserves a lot more credit than maybe a lot of people don't really put on it or give CJ Stroud credit for. And we found out how good he was, but also, how good the rest of this team was as well. And they exceeded expectations in all reality last year, but now how he makes that transition now from being the hunter to being the hunted in that division, not only in that division, but in the entire conference. Everyone is already putting them in contention for the AFC Championship game, at least the AFC Divisional round, as one of the higher seeds. So how does their mentality change, and how does he lead them now into a different sort of mindset with everyone trying to give them their best shot? That'll be certainly something that I'm looking out for. I think he's capable of doing it. Again, credit to the Texans and CJ for his development and building this roster. They have the talent around him to do it, but as well, he has all the makings of a great young quarterback to certainly compete among the Mahomes, the Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, the Joe Burrows. The AFC is going to be super interesting to watch and super fun to watch this season. If everyone stays healthy, we should be in store for some awesome games in 2024. But that'll do it for my list. Let me know what you guys think of it. The order was right. A lot of young quarterbacks in that division. I know Trevor Lawrence is the oldest one at around 25, 26 years old. So let me know what you guys think of my rankings. Do you like it? Do you like the reasons? Let it be known in the live chat box or in the comments section afterwards. But we'll move on to a quick break right now. And on the other side, we'll talk about the NFL potentially moving to an 18-game regular season, and also more contract updates on CeeDee Lamb, why he hasn't signed that negotiation or that new deal. That will be in store in just a few seconds. And also looking at Caleb Williams and how he's been doing in the Chicago Bears OTAs practices this week. Some good and some bad certainly coming from that. I'll give you more details when we return in just a few moments here.